Good morning, everybody. This is Sharon at Threshold Homestead. It's early and I've got a lot to do today, so I'm going to get this day rolling. I've been up quite a while getting some things prepared and some chores done here in the house, but I decided that it was a perfect time, because it's still kind of chilly outside, for me to go ahead and get something going in the oven. Today I'm going to make a cold oven pound cake. It was a favorite of my kids when they were growing up. It was easy, pretty much easy. Just throw a bunch of ingredients together, stick them in the oven, and the oven takes care of everything. So I'm going to get that in the oven as quick as I can. I've got everything, I think, pretty much laid out. I may need to get some milk. I haven't got that out yet. But I just wanted to jump on real quick and just do a preface of what this video is going to be about. And, I've just got a lot going on for this upcoming weekend, so I want to try to get some things done. So you guys just bear with me, and we'll get everything prepared and into the oven, and then I'll go to take care of the morning chores here on the homestead. And then hopefully when I'm done with that, this cake will be almost finished. So I'm going to go ahead and get this done, and I'll be right back with you guys. One thing that I like about getting the ingredients out ahead of time and measured out is everything comes to room temperature. You want to make sure that all of your ingredients, pretty much, with the exception of maybe the cold milk, comes to room temperature, because it just does so much better in your cake. My eggs are room temperature. Now these are fresh eggs, and I wash them before I get ready to put them into the mixer. Now I'm going to try to do this today by putting my mixer over on this counter. And guys, you probably hear that piece of equipment in the background. When it goes in reverse, then it makes that beeping sound, and you can hear it cutting the wood. What we're having done is a mulcher is going through and cutting down all the brush, so it makes a loud noise every now and then. I do apologize, but there's nothing I can do about it. We're going to finish up this cake and get it in the oven, and maybe later when I bring it out to show you guys what it looks like, all of the noise will be gone, and we'll have a beautiful landscape to go and look at. All right, now I have my recipe right here, and I like to keep it handy. Even though I've made this cake 1,000 times, if you're not careful, you'll forget something. And even though a pound cake recipe is very simple, you don't want to forget anything. It just won't turn out right. I have adapted this one recipe over the years, and I like it. The way that I've adapted it, most of the time it turns out okay. But with pound cakes, you never know. Okay, in the recipe, it calls for all of these ingredients here, and I'll call them out as I go through them. It says cream together the sugar, butter, and oil. So that's what we're going to do. Now, I don't have any oil. This recipe called for 1/2 pound butter and 1/2 cup oil. Now, I've reconfigured those measurements, and it comes out to 3 sticks of butter. And that is how I like mine. Okay. I think some of that flour got in there. All right, now I'm just going to put this butter in there. It's room temperature. I'm going to have to get something else to get all of that. Hang on. Okay. Next in, I have 3 cups of sugar. Okay, now I'm going to drop this down. I'm going to start the mixer and let that mix. And from time to time, you may need to get that batter scraped back down so that the mixer can get to it. Okay, it's almost to a creamy consistency. That's what I'm looking for. And once it gets creamy, then I'll start adding the eggs one at a time. I like to scrape down to the bottom of that pan just to make sure all that flour gets all that sugar gets incorporated down in this pan. Okay, that's it. And now we're going to start adding the eggs one at a time. All that sweet goodness scraped off the side. And we will add the eggs one at a time. Now sometimes two might slip out, but who knows? I'll try to keep it one. See how we do. We are almost at the point to start adding the flour. And guys, once you add the flour, you don't want to spend a lot of time letting it mix, because the more your batter mixes once you add the flour, the tougher your cake's going to be. So you want to make sure all the mixing pretty much happens before you start adding the flour. I'm going to add 1/2 teaspoon of salt and one teaspoon of baking powder to my flour. And I'm going to start adding this flour in. I wish I had put that in the sifter, but I forgot. But it's okay. No problem. Because what I'll do now, I'm just going to incorporate that baking powder and salt into this flour. And we're going to be adding 3 cups of flour. And we're going to alternate that with the milk. 1 cup of sweet milk. Okay? Now, going to add about 1/3 of this cup of milk, just so you guys can see that was a cup. And don't let your hand get happy. I'm going to turn this on slowly. And one more cup. And slowly turn this on. Another 1/3 of the milk. And that's the last of the flour. And now we're going to add the last of the milk. Okay, we're going to scrape all of that flour away from the side. And again, I'm going to drop this because almost every time, right there at the bottom of that, where that mixer head goes down, flour can collect there and not get mixed in. Do it to the other side as well. Just kind of scoop down in there. And yeah, it does get all over the spatula, but you just scrape it back in there. And guys, I can tell you this mix is so smooth because we took that extra time to get the sugar and the butter incorporated together and whipped up and creamed up. So I am looking forward. I won't be able to taste this, but I'm looking forward to seeing the smile on somebody's face, hopefully, when they taste it. and we're going to add our vanilla and lemon. So I've got 1 teaspoon of vanilla and 2 teaspoons of lemon extract. Now, if you don't like lemon in your pound cake, you can leave the lemon out and add, the same equivalent measurement of just vanilla. But I would only probably use 2 teaspoons instead of the whole 3 teaspoons of flavoring. But I like lemon, and most of the people that I make this cake for like lemon, and that's what I'm using. So I'm gonna let this mix up, and we're gonna get it into the pan and into the cold oven. This is ready to put into the pan. I wish there was someone here who could look this. No kids in the house. And yeah, if I'm using fresh eggs, I don't worry about flicking the spoon. Okay. Now we've got our already greased, ready pan here, greased and floured. And we're going to take that and scoop it out. Into the pan here. And it's pretty heavy. Pound cakes are heavy cakes. But I can tell you guys, I use this same recipe when I make my cake layers, if I want to make a layer cake. And it just makes a all-around good recipe for any kind of cake. And when I'm pouring this in, I try to get it evenly dispersed all the way around. I have no idea how much this 2-pan holds. And I think a lot of people normally use this kind of cake pan for angel food cakes. And I've only ever made one of those in my lifetime. It was good. But I use this for my pound cakes. And sometimes I use a bundt cake pan. It's good for using this cake for. I'm not sure if I told you guys how many eggs I used. If you counted them, you watched the video, it was 6 eggs. And a lot of recipes for pound cakes call for 5 eggs, but I've just always used 6. I like for my batter to be not so that it pours in. It has a little bit of thickness to it, but I don't want it so thick that it just kind of clumps down. Okay, now what I normally do here is just kind of spread this around. Wherever this cake touches, it's going to take that flour off the side, so be careful. Another thing that I do once I get the cake in here, or the batter, is I just kind of drop it on the counter, twist it around, so that it just kind of falls in there and gets out to the sides. Now I did put a sheet cake pan in the bottom of my oven because I am using a 2-part cake pan, and sometimes inevitably it'll just kind of scoot out just a little bit, and I don't want it falling into the bottom of my oven. Now I'm going to put this in the oven with some loving, and I hope it turns out good, and the people who eat it will just love it, and they'll know how much love I put into it. So into the oven with some loving. Now that I've got that in the oven, I'm going to turn the temperature on the oven up to 350, and it's going to bake for 1 hour and 15 to 30 minutes. Now I've got a notation in here. I wrote 30 minutes right beside the 15. So at 1 hour and 15 minutes, just kind of look at it and see, what you think it looks like. But I kind of like the way most of the time it looks between that 15 to 30 minutes extra over an hour. So we are going to put this in the pan. And once it's done, I'll take it out and let it sit for 30 minutes. Good morning, everyone. This is Sharon with Threshold Homestead, and it is morning. It's another day. Hopefully the final part of this video. You know, as we're in the process of going about our lives, you go through seasons where you are continually doing the same things over and over, and they just become a routine, and you have confidence in everything you're doing because you've done it so many times. Well, in the past 5 years, I've not done very much cooking. I would cook what I have to. Being just one person, I could make a sandwich, I could make some soup that would last me a whole week. And since I'm gluten-free, I don't eat a lot of breads. So I stopped baking breads, which I dearly love to do, and cakes and pies and that kind of thing. I would just do them, something simple to take to a potluck lunch or a family gathering, just enough to get by. Life's busy. And so during the season that I've been in, I've gotten a little rusty. And there's nothing like trying to get back in a game to realize how rusty you really are. So this cake process, had full confidence that I wouldn't have any problems. I baked my first pound cake when I was 12 years old. I'll never forget how, back in those days, ingredients, eggs, sugar, milk, your shortening, those were not something that you're going to, just take a chance on and waste. We were a family of 7, 5 kids, mom and dad, and for my mom to just, say, here are the ingredients, let whatever be, that was a sacrifice. And I look back now and I know that. And so I was very careful. I'd watch my mom bake lots and lots of cakes. And, I got the book out. I'd never had a cream cheese pound cake. And I thought, well, that's interesting. And I used to look at all my mom's magazines. I would go to the library and look through magazines and just read all of the recipes that were in them and think, one day I'm going to bake some of these things. And so I had found this magazine, and it had the recipe for a cream cheese pound cake. And I told my mom, I want to make this. And she said, okay, if you need any help, let me know. And she had given me some tips along the way. And like I said, I watched her a lot. And so I knew the process. I'd read the recipe over and over, but there's nothing like going through a recipe as you're doing it, and looking, double checking, making sure you're doing it in the right order. So I've always said, if you can read, you can cook. And of course you have to have the right tools. You have to have a mixer, and you don't have to have a stand mixer like this one. I didn't. I had a hand mixer with that first cake. And then, you had all the ingredients, and you have your pan that you cook in. Well, my mom's pan was a pan that didn't come apart like this. It was a tube pan. It was not a bundt pan, but it was all one piece. So, you know, I had watched her how you grease the pan, you flour it, and you make sure the flour touches all the surfaces, and you proceed with your recipe as I did in this video for this one. Well, guys, it turned out really well, and I was hooked. You know, I thought, well, if I can take a few of these ingredients and make something worthy of, you know, being in a magazine, then I'm hooked. You know, this is something I could take and turn it into something else. And life's like that. You know, you take what life gives you, and that's the recipe, and how it turns out is what you put into the baking, and you know, what tools you use. And so baking is very much like life for me. And of course, in all the years of my cooking, I cooked with a passion because I had a passion for the people that I was cooking for. And that was another thing with that downtime of, you know, after my restart, I, you know, empty nest, starting over, there was no one to cook for, no one to put all of my love into something and, you know, let them understand that that's how I love, is through my baking and my cooking. I just want people to be happy. And, you know, if your tummy's happy, you tend to be happy. So without further ado, I'll just end this and showing you that, and telling you that no matter how experienced you are, if you don't have the right ingredients or the right tools, or if you've gotten rusty, you might need a little practice. So do what I do and just don't give up. I want that to be something that people remember me by, is the fact that yes, I can fail, but I don't give up. And that has served me well to this point in my life. So I had to figure out a way with this this separate angel food cake pan to make it work for me, because all of my other pans are in storage. My favorite 2-pan is in storage, and I've got several storage places, and I don't know which one it's in, but one day I'll get there and find everything. So what I did was, I did do a Google search, and it said to take some parchment paper and, you know, put it in, leave a place for the hole. Well, I ended up having to make 2 cutouts, and I did one to where it would fit inside of the 2-pan and fit down in like this. And then I put the tube in there, kind of crushed it around, and then I took the second cutout and put it in like that, so that I had double the reassurance that nothing was going to leak out under the pan, because that is what made me have a sad cake before, was put all the cake batter in and it leaked out through the seams of the bottom. So then I took a piece of aluminum foil and reinforced the bottom, just so if it did leak out, I didn't have to worry about it getting in my oven, which the first time I didn't have to worry about that either, because I put a sheet pan in the underneath my cake. So now I will show a couple of pictures. Even though my cake the first time turned out pretty sad, it was good. And that's one thing that I've, over the years, because I've had some sad cakes in the past, and they were just as good. So don't throw your sad cake out. Just cut it in slices and put it in the freezer and take out a piece when you want it. Or if someone comes over and you know they're coming, or whether or not you know they're coming or not, by the time, if you take it out, by the time you sit and have some conversation, then later you can have some coffee with a friend and cake. So don't throw those sad cakes or pies away. Put them in, slice them, put them in the freezer, because no one expects a cake to look perfectly if it comes out of the freezer anyway, but it tastes just fine. Now, this last cake that I baked turned out great, and I'll get it for you. Make sure I don't. You know, every cake's got its best side. Isn't that true of us as well? This is a cold oven cake, pound cake, and you know, after you get the recipe prepared and you put it in the 2-pan and you put it in the oven, you put it in a cold oven. And when you get it in there and close the door, then you turn the temperature up to 350 and let it bake, usually about an hour and 30 minutes. And then if it's done, when you take it out, you can test it with a toothpick, and if it comes out clean, then it's done. You have to let it sit in the pan for 30 minutes before you try to invert it. If you let it sit, I mean, don't rush this process. If you flip this cake out too soon, then the bottom of it's going to break away. And this one did not break away at all. I'll show a picture of that at the bottom of it as well. I just like to turn pound cakes back up, especially these cold oven pound cakes, because they have this wonderful chewy texture on top, and I wish I could taste that. One day I'm going to perfect a gluten-free pound cake and get to experience that feeling again. You know, that little bite where you bite in and it's all chewy and good. So, as I said, I can't taste this, but from prior experience, based on the recipe that I use and that I have worked on over all the years that I've baked, this cake will taste good, and your family or whoever you're making this for will love it. And if it takes you a couple tries, that's okay. We're nowhere near perfect, any of us. And sometimes, you know, we just have to find the joy in those sad moments, and baking will help you to understand that even more so. So I hope you guys have a great day, and I hope you've enjoyed this video, and the fact that even people who've been baking cakes for years and years, we have to be transparent and let you guys know that we fail as well. And I hope you know that even if you fail, it's okay. Take care, everyone, and God bless you.